I feel like I should be annoyed, but I actually am just fighting back happy tears. Okay, so real quick disclaimer. Don't watch this video if you have not seen the finale of Rebels. The absolute last episodes, the episodes that aired on March 5th, 2018. Don't watch this video if you have not seen that first. Dave Filoni is a mad genius. And it may not be perfect, it may not have been what I wanted, but it was what the story needed. Like I alluded to earlier, I feel like I should be annoyed. But it doesn't bother me. I feel like I should be annoyed that Ahsoka was around during the entire original trilogy. What was she doing? Ezra and Thrawn are off somewhere? Doing something? Lost in hyperspace? Okay. I'd like to know a little bit about that. And I think I know why I'm not bothered by it. It's because the story is fulfilled. The story that started with Spark of Rebellion all those years ago, back in 2014, is the story of Ezra Bridger and the story of Lothal. And while Ezra's story is kind of up in the air, he achieved his mission. His mission that was set up during those first few episodes of Season 1, which is save Lothal from the Empire, was accomplished. Now, with that being said, I'm going to be very annoyed if in, say, 4 years from now, we don't have answers to where Ahsoka was during the entire original trilogy, or what Thrawn and Ezra were up to and what were they doing. Now, with that being said, the Rebels Recon episode for the finale does explain that Ezra and Thrawn are alive and they're out there somewhere. But the way Dave Filoni was talking about it, it doesn't sound like they know exactly what they're up to or what they're doing. Now, that could just be Dave Filoni being cagey, but I don't know. I don't know, man. I was hoping that this would be the very first time in Star Wars that we do have that closing of a good book experience. We kind of got that with the Revenge of the Sith, but because that was out of order and because we knew that we would be getting books, at least, even back in 2005, and we knew that there were rumors about the Clone Wars being a thing, and then we had the 3D releases, and, you know, we knew that the Skywalker saga was going to be continued a little bit. And it's not the same experience when it's also out of order. Whereas when you start at the beginning of a story, and then you finally finish the story, there's that bittersweet isn't even the right term for me, I don't think, but the only way I can describe it is that closing of a book. When you finish reading that last sentence on that last page and you close that book up and you feel a sense of fulfillment and peace if you were super engaged with the story. And we didn't really get that with this. I was expecting that this would be the first time in Star Wars that we got that, and we didn't. And I'm okay with that, because Star Wars doesn't end. Just because the Skywalker saga will be ending next year, December, just because Rebels is over with, that doesn't mean that Ezra's story's over, Sabine's story's over, Hera's story's over. What it means is that this specific chapter of those characters' lives are over. There are more chapters to be told always later on down the line. I don't know. We'll see. we'll see what Star Wars Resistance is, or what what crazy mad genius ideas Dave Filoni has bouncing around his head, or rather that he's probably already working on and can't talk about. All I know is I'm really hoping that we start getting some more books or some more TV shows or some movies or something that will help us to understand exactly what happened. It'll fill in those holes. It's an interesting thought, actually. I'm going to go on a crazy ramble here. And it's about how much do they need to explain in these stories? Because Last Jedi, they didn't explain anything about Snoke. They didn't really do anything with the character of Phasma. I'm personally okay with that, but I personally know fans that really didn't like that. And in this, where was Ahsoka? Ahsoka was alive and around for the entire original trilogy. What was she doing? Was she just stuck on Malachor? Malachor 5 or whatever? What? I don't know, guys. Do those need to be filled? And I can understand the point that they do need to be filled, but for me, they don't need to be filled, if that makes sense. I don't need that because that's not what those stories are trying to tell. Those stories in The Last Jedi, the story, at least to me at least, was a tale about never losing hope and growing into a new position, especially with Rey, and if you mirror that with Kylo, and also the lesson of growing old is a thing that will always need to be faced, and that's the story that was being told. And if they just stopped telling that story for 5 minutes for Snoke to go on some exposition, that would slow it all down. And what mattered in Rebels is Ezra's efforts to save Lothal from the Empire. And he did that. That was the story that it was trying to tell. Now, again, should they have brought Ahsoka in at all? I don't know. I'm wondering what you guys think. Let me know what you guys think about, whether or not they need to explain these things to us, or whether or not you can just kind of let the story take its own path, and what that means for the greater galaxy doesn't necessarily matter to you like it does to me. I'm curious what the ratio is of people that need things explained and people that don't necessarily need or even want things explained. Anyways, I need to get going because it is 6 o'clock in the morning. I have not gone to bed yet. I need to get this video up to you guys. I will see you guys very, very shortly with probably another video. I think I'm going to do a review of Ahsoka for next week, just because my mind's on Ahsoka and I think I'm going to reread that book. So we're going to do that, I think, for next week's video. Either way, real quick announcement. We are on iTunes. I'm waiting for we are waiting for the Google Play authorization or approval system or whatever to finish going through. But we are on iTunes. We are on Podbean, a new podcast with myself, Katie, who I did that episode of Rambling Back with, and two of my other Star Wars friends, Edward and Josh. We are basically just sitting around and talking about Star Wars for 2 or 3 hours once a month. And we have our first episode up on iTunes and Podbean, and it will be up on Google Play very, very shortly. So check that out. The name of the podcast is Star Cabal, or rather the Star Cabal Podcast. Just go ahead and search through iTunes for that, and Google Play probably within the next couple of days. All right, I'm going to get out of here, get this edited. And man, Rebels was a damn good show. I'll give them that. All right, I'm out of here. You guys have a wonderful one. As always, the Force will be with you. Always.